Welcome everyone to another episode of Bench Press. And as you may know, today is a casually serious episode, which means only us as your hosts. So, who are going to be we're going to be discussing a serious and important topic today.
All right. So, what are we going to talk about today? I mean, I heard it's going to be different from what we usually do, so I'm curious to see what it is.
That's actually right, Joe. So if you would notice for our past topics, it is mostly the things that you would easily see in the headline of the news. And they are very in a large scale issues that you would easily know or see. Although our topic for today is also considered to be a huge problem, it is very hard to be seen or to be detected. But that doesn't mean that it is not as important as the other issue that made it to the headlines. It is actually equally important in a sense that the problem has denied many people, especially children or the children, their rights such as rights to education and rights to be free from mental, emotional, and physical violence. So what I'm talking about is school bullying. So that would be our topic for today. So let me start our discussion by asking you guys, if you ever have experienced being bullied or have you ever observed this scenario of bullying?
Or maybe are you the bully?
Oh, that's a good question too.
Okay.
Any experience?
Let me start this conversation by saying I think for me personally, I think it is very I would say like weird or immature of you to say that you've never been bullied or be the bully yourself. It's I don't know, because for me personally, I've in my whole life I've seen people bullying others. I've been the bullied and the bully myself as well. There were a lot of different experiences when I was in primary school. Maybe it involved some sort of like verbal bully, and then junior and high school is more of a combination of verbal and physical. But people often dismisses it as a boys kind of jokes, and the definition is very different from people to people. So I mean, it's going to be a very interesting discussion, and you know what? Let's hear from Dika. Your own experience. Have you ever experienced of getting bullied or being a bully yourself?
Yeah, personally, I have experienced being bullied during my time in the elementary school in Japan. Mainly because probably I was the only gaikokujin. How do you say gaikokujin? Foreigner at the school, and I don't know about. At the time, I was I cannot speak Japanese, so yeah, probably that's my experience of being bullied.
So if you can't speak Japanese, how are you like bullied? If they're not verbally
You don't understand what
abusing
they're
you,
saying.
Yeah, because so during that time, I was kind of fast to learn Japanese, and later in the later stage of my elementary school, I knew that I was being bullied because during the first half of my elementary school, I didn't know that was a bully. I didn't acknowledge that it was a bully. So yeah, when I knew I knew how to speak Japanese, I was able to communicate with them and try to stop the impact of the bully for myself. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's Dika, and you were in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Growing up as an Indonesian boy in a foreign country.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more local, Joey. You grew up in Indonesia, and I think I don't know. My perception of bullying in Indonesia is more physical sometimes
Mhm.
compared to other countries. Have you ever, experienced any of that?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I did experience bullying when I was in middle school. So when I was in elementary school, I actually had a pretty good school life. I transferred schools a lot when I was a kid, and when I stepped into middle school, I transferred to a new school. And yeah, that was the first time I experienced, like, I guess, a more serious kind of bullying. For example, about rumors is one thing.
Mm.
Physical to a certain extent. I got punched in the gut once,
Oh my
but
god.
Oof.
I think, well, I managed to survive. I think it was a pretty interesting experience. As in, I do think that it was an unfortunate event, but it also made me a lot stronger as a person, I guess. So there was also something that I learned from there.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe.
I mean, like, for me, I'm thankful that I didn't experience, like, bullying. As you say, like, as Benedict was saying, right? He was saying it depends on how you define it. Of course, as a child, like, as childrens, you do tease each other. I do get that a lot, but I don't consider it, like, as a bullying, because I feel like, they didn't actually do it, like, persistently to the point that they will push me through my limit. They will tease me sometimes, but it's not something that I felt I am bullied. So I think bullying also really depends on how you define it, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah, right.
So were you saying that we should, because you said you didn't really perceive that as bullying, so are you suggesting that we should see bullying from, let's say, the victim's perspective?
I guess, like, it depends on the victim, right? Like, it depends on how you feel. If you feel any discomfort, or like, if you feel that you're not safe with what they do, then I do think that it's bullying. But for me, like, you know how children would tease each other? It's just a normal, like, how do you say it? Like a playful act, something like that. So I didn't really take it personally. Although you will sometimes, I mean, like, you will be a bit, how do you say it? You will lose a bit of your confidence. But then again, like, they didn't do certain things persistently. So they eventually stop, which is really, like, I mean, like, okay, so it's just like a phase. It's a very, very short time. So I didn't really, like, consider it bullying, I should say.
I guess it's very interesting, like what Joe and you mentioned just now. The victim's perspective matters the most, and we can discuss it more
Further.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but right now I'm actually curious. Earlier I mentioned that in Indonesia, I think bullying is usually perceived as more on the physical side. Verbal bullying often are dismissed by parents or even teachers. Sometimes, what do you guys think about this? Maybe you can share, and because Aki used to live in the Philippines as well. Maybe you can share your side of the story as well.
For Philippines, if you're looking, I would be honest, like, in the Philippines for school bullying, of course it exists. But I'm really not familiar to, like, the system of bullying in the Philippines. Because, I mean, I won't say that it's not a big problem, but it is not as big as if you compare it to Japan. I would say that I would be more familiar with the Japanese bullying. I mean, like, the bullying in schools in Japan, because I would always watch, like, Japanese drama, and there will always be an episode about school bullying. It's, like, always there. And then if like, sometimes if you're curious that if this is really happening, and if you, like, search it in Google, it will really, like, come out. Like, there are, like, reality to each episode. So I started getting curious to it, and then that's how I realized how big the problem of school bullying in Japan. So that's why I was telling also Joe the other time that I could not share a lot of experience about Philippines because
Right.
I'm really not familiar.
Right.
So yeah, I could talk more about Japan. Probably Dika as well could talk about the system of bullying in Japan since he experienced it as well.
Okay. Yeah. Probably to add, based on my I can all I'm just I will talk based on my experience. So yeah, during my time in Japan during the elementary school, I've never experienced like physical bully. It was kind of like 90% verbally, and also
How about
I
the other
realized
10%?
the other 10%. I don't remember. I don't remember really vividly remember.
Yeah,
But
this
yeah,
is a child.
Yeah, I'm a child, so
You're a child.
I'm enjoying every single thing during that period. So
Yeah.
True.
yeah. So basically, I was verbally bullied. Also, maybe the 10% was I was being excluded by my friends here in back in Japan. So yeah, because basically I didn't speak their language. They taught me some dirty words and stuffs, and I didn't realize that until like 1 year later because I couldn't speak Japanese and so on. And yeah, I just remember that during my elementary school here back in Japan, I didn't have good memories. I didn't have many friends because I was kind of traumatized by what happened in Japan because I'm adapting to the new system, and also I was trying to learn Japanese and so on. So yeah, probably that. Maybe for physical bully, I think there's much cases to be seen in like high school rather than elementary school because I didn't experience high school in Japan, so I couldn't tell much more than that. Yeah.
But just to add up to that, did you know like there's a lot of bullying happening in elementary school than in like high school? I saw like an article about it, and it showed like a graphics of how like there's more like bullying happening in elementary schools than in high schools. Also, like to add up to Dika saying that he's different, that's why he was bullied. Like there is a Japanese saying to this, Dika, but I'm not sure if you remember because I can't. Like you
Nakama Hazure?
no.
No?
Like the nail that sticks up gets hammered down.
Yeah.
There's a certain Japanese for it, but I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
it
so
as
you
well.
cannot stand out because they will try to, like to make you the same as the others. So I think that's where also bullying happens. If you are like academically achiever, then other people tries to put you down to make you same as them. So I think that's like the mentality in Japan. I don't know how about in Indonesia.
Wait, sorry, just to clarify,
Yeah.
Aki, when you said that bullying happens more in elementary school than in high school, is that the data for Japan or?
Data for Japan, it was in
For Japan, okay.
2019.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
how do you measure it?
I think they do like a survey
Yeah.
that it's
yeah.
but like it's still vague because survey can be
Yeah.
it's not that clear because not a lot of people say that they are being bullied. And when
Yeah,
you get
that's
into
right.
high school, you get to be more like silent, I should say. That's why
Yeah.
probably there's a lot
Yeah.
more in elementary than in high school.
Yeah, just to add to the survey that Aki mentioned. Yeah, so basically I think every year or every semester they will have a survey that you have to fill in. Each of the students have to fill in regarding are you getting bullied or not, or maybe the parents could fill in as well so that the child will be feeling safe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because it's a bit different from like my experience. I think I mentioned it earlier before. Like I I've never experienced bullying when I was in elementary school, but when I stepped into middle school, that's when I experienced that. I think it's also because that's when we're like teenagers. That's also when we're kind of like troublemakers, I guess. I maybe like I'm pretty sure there were some things that I did were not which things I did which I didn't think enough before doing, and maybe that led to like some of the bullying that happened to me. Who knows? Yeah. But I want to address a bit about the verbal abuse and physical bullying that I think Andrew mentioned and Dika mentioned as well. So I was just wondering, like, how do our experiences when we were at school would differ from maybe those who are in school now, who are in middle school, high school, because personally for me, when I was at school, I didn't have that much access to, let's say, social media or
that's true.
Or like that's a good point. Yeah.
Right. So like in the age of like social media, I think cyberbullying is also a very big issue as well. Like when I was at school, verbal abuse, I get that too sometimes. Although maybe just like Dika, I think you mentioned too, you weren't really as bothered by it. But in the age of cyberbullying, it might be a little more intense, right? Because first of all, you may get it like in a larger quantity. So for
it is,
larger quantity through the internet, and also
that's true.
There's anonymity. No, maybe not anonymity, but yeah, basically cyberbullying, social media and cyberbullying could make like verbal abuse actually even more intense, like at school today than we were. Yeah. So what do you think?
I feel like in terms of physical bullying, it becomes more and more visible. Which hopefully means, because I don't really have a data for this, hopefully means that physical abuse or physical bullying is becoming lesser and lesser nowadays. But I do agree. I do have a brother who are currently attending primary school or elementary school, and from what I see, he's not the victim and not the perpetrator of the bullying act, but I can see how, like, based on how he speaks every day, for example, I took glances of his group chat sometimes.
Took glances.
A good brother.
No, you're a good brother. I agree. You're a good brother.
Oops, michata.
Oops. But yeah, it exists. It is undeniable that bullying exists, and it weirdly enough, it can be more dangerous because the visible thing is now becoming invisible, and when bullying becomes invisible and parents cannot notice it, that's when it becomes dangerous, right?
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
Right. Speaking about the case of Indonesia, when you said bullying becomes invisible, it's not really connected, but it also made me realize that in Indonesia, bullying is also somewhat institutionalized. Especially when you so in Indonesia there's this thing called I guess ospek, which basically orientation period. And usually the seniors, it's a period where the freshmen would have to do a series of sometimes humiliating things that the seniors ask them to do. Some of the arguments that they use to justify this is that it trains the freshman's mentality, or it makes they're trying to make them stronger mentally. But when you see the motivations behind the seniors, that's not really the case, because I have like some friends who were also in this. Okay, so the student organization that does this ospek, it's called OSIS. It's basically student council, or like in Japan, maybe it's equivalent to seitokai, right?
Yeah.
So,
yep.
When I asked around, I wasn't a part of the organization because I was already in another student organization. I was a part of the Red Cross, my school's Red Cross team, right? So when I asked some people some of my friends who joined this student council, I asked them why they wanted to join. the most popular reason is that, because in freshmen we were bullied by the seniors, and now it's my chance to bully like the freshmen. Like, it's not even a secret anymore. I'm pretty sure like it's a very open thing. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Andrew can also like back that up, or like if you have any counter or maybe different experience.
Sure, and I'm gonna share my side of the story, and
Yeah.
by no means this is a defamation to my high school or middle school.
You don't need to mention your.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's a public secret by now. I went to an all boys school, and when we did when I experienced my orientation period, I remembered we had to do a lot of push-ups. We had to sit up straight, for like 3 hours, which is like very difficult because when you were a child, you're not used to that. And if you don't perform it perfectly, then you will get punished for it. You will get humiliated in front of your friends, in front of your batchmate.
Mm-hmm.
And their reasonings is like what Joe said, it's to train you mentally. But then I remember one of the senior told me that, what you experience is nothing. My father, who used to attend this school, he was like peed on. And I'm like, what? Like, how is this correlated with like training you mentally? And like you say, Joe, I think this kind of creates like a hellish cycle, right? Yeah, just continuing.
Yeah, I mean, it usually goes one way or the other, right? So it usually either you copy it or you say, okay, this is not a good experience. I don't want people to experience this. I'm not going to do it. But unfortunately, there's still a lot of people who think who were like, okay, experience this. Now I get to let others experience it. Now I'm going to be the one. Like,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was on that side of the
thing
team,
is, peer pressure also plays into that.
Great.
Like peer
That's
pressure,
true.
yeah. Like I think Andrew mentioned it just now. There's this sort of like status that goes in doing that, like bullying. First of all, it's like being seen as this very I can't really find the English equivalent word for this, but basically very fierce or very as like an upperclassman that the freshmen are scared of. It kind of becomes like a sense of pride sometimes.
That's true.
Like a macho kind of
that too.
Right?
Yeah, that too. Like this, like it gives them a sense that they're a strict person, something like that.
Yeah.
I
think
have. Oh yeah,
just
go
to-
ahead, Dika.
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew.
No,
Go
no.
on.
No, go ahead,
I
go
think
ahead.
just to add on for this orientation period thingy, I think ideally this orientation period was being established because they wanted, like, schools wanted to have like a period where you do some ice breaking games and be close with your friends, but because as Andrew mentioned before, it became a hell of a cycle because I don't know when it started actually, this hell of a cycle. Yeah. So basically the idea of this orientation period, the purpose was to bring in new kids to be, how do you say it? Nareru. What is Nareru in English? Get used to the environment and their senior in their school. Yeah.
Right. But to give you like, for example, maybe for some of the readers who are not really aware of the system in Indonesia, like it has actually led to student deaths like several times. Yeah. So sometimes the upperclassmen, they will go too far and end up with the death of a student. So there has been like a lot of I guess campaigns to like stop this kind of practice, but you can see how this it's not that easy to stop because recently, I think last year when COVID-19 happened and schools were closed down in Indonesia and everybody has to do an online has to study from home they have to study through Zoom. They actually held this orientation thing online. So there was a viral video showing, like the seniors scolding, like literally screaming and scolding at a freshman through Zoom. Right. Yeah. So even under this situation, it shows how it's quite persistent. This kind of thing.
I just have a question, Joe. Like when you said like there's like deaths involved, does the victim die during like certain bullying? So was the death caused by the bully?
Indirectly, oftentimes.
Or because like for Japan, you know, like if you are bullied, like most of the victim commits suicide. So it is the same for like Indonesia. Do they commit suicide or do they, you know, like die in the process of being bullied, something like that?
I don't know. Maybe
like
Andrew
physical abuse.
Maybe Andrew can back this up or give extra information as well. But as far as I know, usually it's during the bullying process. So during the orientation, things happen that led to the student death. Okay, maybe I can try to quick Google. Okay, thank you.
Some of the cases involve like actual physical bullying. Like this one news said that there's a parent that there are that there used to be like a physical abuse going on during the orientation period. But I've read some news in the past that it also involves, in an indirect correlation between the death of the victim and the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Which, for example, like, you have to run for like a marathon kind of thing, but you're not used to it, right? And, it causes like a heart attack.
Heartburn, yeah.
And just, they pass away.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between Indonesia and Japan, right? Most of the case for Japan is suicide. There's really a high rate of like suicide among young people, especially even like elementary school. That's why I think if you would try to research about, there's a bullying act, if I'm sure, in 2013 that was passed by the government. It is due to an elementary student who committed a suicide due to bullying. But then again, the cases, the case of bullying didn't get it didn't get dissolved at all. It's still there.
Yeah, I think I can relate during my time in the primary school or elementary school because, I think elementary school children they want to play and they want to have friends. And for me, not having a friend is a very, how do you say it? A very
lonely,
stressful,
You
lonely
feel like
and stressful
left
thing.
alone, right?
Yeah, left alone, yeah. And
it's
then
okay,
you don't
we're here
have
for you now, Dika.
We're here for you.
We're here for you, Dika.
We got your back.
All right. Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, and I just maybe probably because you feel lonely and you don't have any friends to play with, and there's no much space to like tell. Maybe I think from my perspective, it's hard to tell your parents that you were bullied. That kind of things matters, yeah. And also it's hard to tell the teacher because either ways, if you tell the teacher, then you will get bullied again.
Even more,
Yeah.
And as a bully, I remember when I was a bully.
As a bully.
When I was a bully, back in the day.
Highlight.
Yeah. I remember, oftentimes I feel bad, but like Dika said, it's a constant feeling of looking for like attention, right? When you were a kid. So when you just want out of that cycle, you feel like you're gonna be the next target of bully, and you don't want that. You don't want to, and so it creates like a continuous cycle again.
Yeah.
So can you say, Andrew, that this is how they choose the people, like their target? I'm not pertaining you as like, I'm just relating it to what
Should
you were saying.
should I mask my voice?
No. I mean, like, can we say that, like, because of this cycle of being afraid to be bullied, we try to find another target, right?
Yeah.
But how do you actually, like, how do they actually find their next target? Is it the people that are, like, very different from them? Is it the people that is very weak that they think they could, like, easily command to do this stuff? And
I think each people's experience are different.
yeah.
For me, and I can only say my side of the story, right? For me, I grew up in an all boys school, which are considered pretty militaristic in terms of like training their children.
Wow.
Maybe not like I'm a big boy, I'm not that militaristic, but they. Discipline is a very important thing when growing up, and it's a very toxic masculinity concept. But it goes hand in hand with being great at sports. For example, is perceived as a you're part of the cool guy, and that's how you choose and that's how you create the hierarchy system in a way. And again, that's why I said I think people's experience are different, because maybe in other schools where intelligence is considered the most important thing, then bullying form can be different.
Yep.
No, wait. What you answered there, it actually also highlights, I guess, one of the natures of bullying, which is the idea of having power over the other. And I think that's also one thing that separates bullying from teasing. Is that teasing?
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So we probably should have discussed it earlier. Like, how do we define bullying, right? So bullying sometimes, what is the line between bullying and teasing? I think one of them is perhaps the difference in like power between the bullied and the victim. So for example, if teasing, maybe I tease Andrew a lot sometimes, yeah, but Andrew can fight back, right?
I can fight back. I don't want to be the bully.
I mean, Andrew does this to Dika too, and Dika can do it to Andrew. Like, it's not, there's no malicious intent. First of all, intent probably is another
another concern, yeah.
Yeah,
unless.
Okay, so like power and intent. So like
That's true.
With teasing, like you don't have any malicious intent, right? And second, I would say that both the one who's being teased and the one who's teasing both have perhaps like more or less equal power, so that
you're not trying to outpower the other.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like it relates to like what Andrew said about like having or wanting to dominate. So that was the point, right, Andrew?
Yeah. So like you said, intention and
power
relations, right? It's okay. That's interesting, actually, and this has been on my mind. And I want to ask this to Aki, actually.
Yeah.
Growing up in an all-boys school, I don't know what form of bullying, girls experience. Is it different from what boys experience?
I would because like for girls, it's not more on physical, I would say. It's more on words. Boys is a mix of words, verbal and physical, right? But for girls, could be more, I think, verbal. You can start with spreading humors, right? Girls love humors. I would not deny that.
I love humor.
Gossip
I mean,
girl,
like,
XOXO.
Like how it's easy for girls to, like spread humors about one girl. And that could start everything. So there's not much of like physical, like attacking one physically. I've never and I've never heard like from friends' experiences about like physical bullying, but more on verbal. So it's attacking your like intellectual and emotional rather than your physical health, I would say.
So there's no such thing as what you read in the manga where girls are pulling each other's hairs and,
I mean, it depends. It's not all for cases, but most of the cases that I've heard of is more on the verbal than the physical.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. I was just wondering. I think we have a lot of other topics. Maybe let's move on to the causes of bullying. Joe mentioned earlier that the cause of bullying are intention. Wait,
that's-
no,
no,
what
that's-
differentiates bullying and
Teasing.
Teasing.
Yeah, our
But
intention.
actually, we've mentioned a lot about the causes, like how Joe mentioned about institutionalized bullying, right? So I think we should talk more about on the victim's side of the story. How do they feel? Why do they feel like powerless? I mean, why can't they say it to the people around them?
Right.
So the victim side of the story, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
because I,
mean,
think Dika also mentioned earlier that a lot
Yeah.
of people don't want to report. A lot of victims of bullying don't want to report being bullied.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because in
why
the
is that?
future they will get bullied again because of that. So it is a chain of a reaction, I think. Yeah.
Right.
But it's like, it's sad that to think that they could not trust, like their teachers, their friends.
And I think most importantly, their parents as well,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes
Yeah,
there
I
are
guess
two types of parents in my mind. Either they
Yeah.
protect their child a little bit too much,
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
right.
The-
Yeah.
Yeah.
or
The
on the
monster.
other hand, they're
Yeah.
They
like,
don't care.
yeah,
Right. And
you didn't suffer as much
ironically-
as I did, kind of parent.
yeah, and ironically, sometimes I guess parents who were very overprotective, who like would try. I mean, of course, parents are protective of their kids, right? But sometimes the fact that they can be overprotective actually prevents the victims from reporting such a thing. So, for
Yeah.
example, let's say if you report being bullied to your parents, and then if your parents is a more overprotective type, you're scared that they might like cause a scene at school
That's true.
and like cause you, I don't know, maybe you might feel embarrassed, or maybe
You feel like you get more troubled.
yeah, because it get more trouble and get a lot of unwanted attention.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, I don't know. How do you experience this kind of thing, or like do you know someone who experienced that kind of thing? Because this is just a theory in my mind.
Well,
It'll be
let me-
great if you have like proofs.
Yeah,
or
let me
something.
ask you, Dika, did you stay quiet when you were bullied? Did you ask your parents for help? Did you ask your teachers for help?
That's a good question. I didn't, because at the first half of my elementary school, I didn't realize that I was a bully, so I stayed quiet. And then when I moved to the sixth grade, I realized that was a bully. I also stayed quiet because I don't know, I just don't want my parents to
Worry.
how do you say it? My parents to worry too much when I am in school, because my parents is also attending she's continuing her study when I was in Japan. So yeah, because of that two reasons, I didn't want to tell anybody. Also for my my teachers, because I know that if I report it to my teacher, there is somehow my friends will know that I reported to my teacher, and so on.
Like for what I've read in from articles, like news articles, because most of like those kids who were like bullied cannot ask their teachers, because sometimes their teachers doesn't care that much to the issue, because
Yeah.
sometimes teachers are protecting more their career, I would say. Like for example, if if a teacher said that, oh, this kid is bullying someone, then if he or she doesn't have a proof, then the parents of that accused of bullying could go for a lawsuit easily,
Yeah.
because I think that's how
Because-
Japan works.
That's a
yeah,
good
because
point,
just to add to your point, Aki, because simply in Japan, there's a parents teacher association, and the PTA is kind of superior than the
It's
teacher.
a bit
actually,
strong.
Yeah, it's a bit too strong, and also
Association,
What was it called?
Yeah.
Parents
PTA,
teachers PTA.
Parents teacher association.
Association.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, but it's like the parents over the teachers. That's why it's P over the T, right? It's
Yeah.
not TPA, but it's PTA.
Okay.
And also the other way around, actually. If the teacher overprotects the children who gets bullied, then he or she will naturally become like the most the less favorite teacher, and then
He or she gets bullied as well, right?
Bullied,
By the
and
students.
also the career for the teacher is over. Yeah, so it's a complicated problem in Japan, actually.
Right. I guess another problem as to why bullying victims stay quiet is that they sometimes get blamed for what happened to them. So victim blaming might be a big thing too. So you can go to your teacher and say, "Oh, I'm being bullied." Da 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 da. Teachers may sometimes respond with, "Well, it's because you're this or that." It might relate to what you said earlier about teachers sometimes may not care too much. Of course, not all teachers are like that. A lot of teachers are very nice. But so like they might try to brush that aside by victim blaming. So
That's true.
yeah.
And that idea, I think, is enforced in Indonesia as well. As like people say that kids always want attention in Indonesia, and teachers oftentimes just brush it off as those are that period of time for children.
Right. Right. This speaking of victim blaming, this kind of reminded me of. Do you guys watch 13 Reasons Why?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't watch it until
That's
the
on
end.
my watch list. Okay. No spoilers.
Okay, I'm not gonna
please.
spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it. But just the synopsis. So, 13 Reasons Why is a Netflix series, and it tells the story of a high school girl named Hannah Baker. Hannah Baker, right?
Hannah Baker.
Who committed suicide due to a series of events involving her interactions with her classmates or just the people around her, right? And before she committed suicide, she recorded 13 tapes, and each of the tape addresses a specific person and explains what that person did to Hannah Baker and why it led to her suicide, right? Now, the thing is, how should I put this? So there's definitely a lot of things about bullying, right? In the film. And one thing I felt when I was watching the movie, this is my personal opinion, but I didn't like Hannah Baker that much as a character.
I understand your feeling.
So like I googled, but okay, I'll explain why I'm telling this story, but later. But so I googled like what people think about Hannah Baker, and some of them actually agreed with what I think, right? So I can't really mention the specifics because first I don't want to spoil anyone, and second it's been a while since I watched it. But I still remember feeling that there was a bit of a for example, there was a bit of a hypocrisy in Hannah Baker's character and her actions. I also remember thinking that some of the things that she did could have been avoided, or like, I feel like some of the people that in the tapes did not deserve to be in the tape at all. Things like that.
So are you saying that she's the cause of her own suffering?
No.
No. Now
Okay.
this is where okay. In fact, I'm actually suggesting the opposite. So here's what I'm getting at. The more I think about it, the more I realize that if the creators of the series wrote Hannah Baker this way intentionally, then I think it's actually kind of smart. Because victims are not always pure. Here's what I mean. Yeah. So the reason why people victim blame sometimes is that, I mean, if you look at, let's say, anti-bullying ads, or when you think about bullying, of course you want to see things from the victim's perspective, right? And those who make anti-bullying ads would also want you to sympathize with the victims, right? So sometimes you might get this like romanticized idea of what a victim should look like. There are pros and cons to that, right? So the pros is, of course, you sympathize with the victims, and it might lead you to be more sympathetic, or have a more stronger stance against bullying, right? But I think there's also a cons, because like this might distort your image of what a victim in real life looks like. Because like sometimes it might not, the victim might not be like a likable person, but it doesn't mean that they deserve to be bullied, right?
Yeah.
I think I've observed this like in my surroundings too. For example, like it's easy to see like from an outsider perspective that maybe this girl A is being bullied by her classmates. That they shouldn't do that. It shouldn't happen. But maybe when you're in this in that kind of situation, or like when you're within that this circle of the bullying and the bullied, for example, you may not really realize that she was being bullied because maybe you didn't really like her. Things like that. Do you get what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so the more I thought about like this Hannah Baker character, the more I think, well, this is actually quite realistic. Like, I don't know. What do you think?
For me, it's more of a what's the children supposed to do? Hannah Baker is from what I see on the poster, I assume that she's a kind of a grown up, almost, right? But for a lot of like children, like kids, they don't really have the awareness that this is like a bad thing. Do you have any proposed solution?
Come again? Like a bad thing?
Do you have any solution that you want to propose to avoid bullying? I think
especially
for me,
particular for children, right?
Yeah. It's really hard to solve it when you're
young,
grown up already, right? Kind of like.
I still think communication is one of the best keys to this. First of all, good communication with parents and teachers.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's first of all, let's say like the overprotective parents. Communication goes both ways. So like this is not. Maybe you'll have a better solution. But I do think like if you feel like you're getting bullied, talk to like the people around you, whether it's some of your parents or your friends, who try to seek like support, and see where it goes from there. Maybe you'll either transfer schools, or like maybe you find a new circle where you feel safer. So like circle of friends who are more like-minded, maybe, or who share more similarities with you, where you can feel safe. I don't know. What do you think?
I think also like as an individual, kids should be like, or children should be educated about this like bullying issue more. Because I think they've taught a lot. I mean, like in the Philippines, there's also like moral education about morals. We do also have that, but I mean, like those are like the, how do you say, atarimai no koto? How do you say it? Like
an obvious,
like things that even your parents can teach. But like bullying, I think if it won't be discussed in schools, then it will remain a problem. Because like if a teacher could talk about it and get the trust of the children, then probably like children could go to that teacher and like like share his or her experience about certain things about bullying. And I think it's also important for the school to create like not an association, but like a group of like, or a department where would be like specialized in terms of bullying. So it would be easier, and it would be better for children to like feel that there is a safe place for them in school, even though they okay, I'm bullied, but I can run to this like specific place that I know I will be safe. So that's how I was like thinking it in terms of the like like the school itself, how they could like tackle this issue.
Yeah, adding to Aki's point, I guess I truly agree with both of your opinion, and I really think that communication is the key, because in Japan, actually they have like a moral lesson every week in class, but I think the application doesn't work fine. That's why it doesn't this bullying thing has not resolved year and year. So I think what Aki said also, and like mixing up Aki's and Joe's opinion, I think seek for help. I guess it's a very important thing, because I really felt that if you have like a emotionally support emotional support, then you can overcome the what do you say, the bullying, and also probably external body within the, not the teacher, but maybe a physical,
Friends.
how do you say it? Yeah, friends or a professional that could handle this kind of sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like even you can also try to find on Google, like try to find steps of what to do when you're being bullied. Because I think,
Yeah.
well, we live in an age of internet. We have a lot of resources online. So if you're not sure what to do, you can try to find some resources online, trying to read about like what to do when you're being bullied.
I'm maybe more of a realist, but and this is my personal opinion, and I apologize if I offend anyone. I think bullying is not solvable in like anytime soon,
Oh.
and it is very idealistic to say that, you know, in the future we can be all equal. We can be like, you know, no bullying at all, because people are different, and I see that social standings, even in school, sometimes always exist. What we can do is to eliminate as much as possible the existence of bullying in school. And what I propose is more of a bottom-up solution, which starts, like you guys say, it starts with communication. It starts from the victim and the perpetrator themselves. You know, communicate. Maybe try to talk it out with each other, and then on the next level is the parents. The parents should support, and the teacher also needs to support the children, the student. But then I think the government also needs to intervene. What Japan made with the bullying regulation, I think it hasn't served its purpose, but it was made with well intention.
I understand. It still has a
Right.
lot to improve.
Yeah. You know, I think what you said, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I like what you said about the bottom up approach. I see it as more of, like like empowering the children or empowering the victims. So you may not be able to like eliminate bullying in general or eliminate
Entirely,
bullying
right?
completely, but you can empower the children or educate them on how to handle bullying,
Yeah.
right?
How to
not
overcome.
Yeah, how to overcome it and how to
be aware, I guess. To be aware.
how to overcome it, how to not exacerbate it, for example. Because I think we also talk about like how we learn some lessons from our own experience when we were being bullied, right? So I think definitely education, empowering the children or the students on how to handle bullying. That's all very good. A step as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and just be, like a friend to someone.
Right.
Always look after each other.
Yeah.
And don't
Don't be the bully, okay? Don't be the
don't
bully.
be the bully.
I'm watching you, okay?
Andrew,
I'll be your bully if you're bullying someone.
No, it doesn't
No,
work that way.
Andrew.
It doesn't work that way.
Andrew, you should be the Baymax. You should
Okay,
be
okay. I'll
the
be-
friend.
I'll be the pacifist Baymax, okay?
Yeah.
I love peace.
Yeah, it's scary that it's scary that if you think about it, like anyone could be a bully without even
That's
realizing
true.
it.
True.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So, yeah.
Hey, we're kind of running out of time, right?
Yeah,
We had a
running-
good conversation today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we had a good convo. Yeah. So how do you guys relate it to peace? This bullying problem, then.
I mean, this is also very much related to peace. I mean, it's peace in your direct environment, right? So it's not when you think about peace, maybe like in general, you would think more on the larger scale, like wars or stuff like that. But there's also peace. You can also try to find or solve problems of peace in your surrounding environment. So starting from bullying or anything in your straight environment. Yeah.
Yeah, and as I mentioned like earlier, bullying has deprived a lot of children their rights. And as you know, if we are achieving for a peaceful world, then it should be a safer place for everyone. And that's how we define peace during our first episode. If you would remember, like, yeah, if there is bullying, then how could they feel that they're safe? How could we achieve peace if when they go outside, they are very afraid of their lives due to bullying? So yeah, it's really an important topic to be discussed and to raise awareness about.
And speaking of thinking on the larger scale, I think, bullying, education about bullying is also part of a very important, education phase of children's life. Because once children realize that there can be a social standing between people, between them and others, then it can be continued or perpetuated until like they're adult, and they always see people as like above or below them. So
Yeah. Actually, my point. Andrew mentioned my point. So yeah, basically the bullying is a tip of an iceberg that you may probably experience during your childhood, but it will come with you until you grow up, and then probably you will not have that peaceful mind when you grow up, and that will connect to a non-peaceful environment, I guess, in the end. So yeah, as Andrew mentioned, because it's an important phase of your life, then I think maybe bully, it's a very small piece that, as Joe mentioned, but I think it's very, very important for us to think about the bully.
And I guess that's it for us for today. I hope also everyone learned something from this episode. It was a good episode, I should say, yeah.
Casually serious.
Casually serious.
Yes, and yeah, we hope you could tune in again to our next episode, and we will see you in our next episode. So for now, we're gonna be signing out.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace out. You guys freezing.